like this right here. This is beautiful. Perfect. All right, so let's get into this Lightroom only portrait edit of Daniela. She's an actor and a musician. We were doing some headshots, and during that session, once we got done with the headshots, I said, hey, let's do some portraits because it's fun. So, originally, I do have a backlight, a hair light. You can see there is a little hair light coming in here. And then in the front, I was using a beauty dish. It's a little underexposed. It's a raw file. They always come in a little bit under. So, and they always look brighter in camera on my Sony. People ask me, why do you shoot so underexposed? And so I didn't think I was. When I look at it on the camera, you can set the brightness on your screen on your camera too, but they don't look this dark. When you bring them into Lightroom and the raw file, it's not like a JPEG. If you were shooting in JPEG, it's already going to be boosted. The saturation's boosted, all that. RAW gives you the power to push and pull those shadows and highlights and things like that, fortunately. And so let's get into it. The first thing I do, not the last thing, but I do not go and grab the exposure. I start with the highlights and I bring those up to about where I think that should be. And then I bring up the shadows. And this is kind of a dark shot. We're kind of going for a moody look here. This is actually a dark gray background, but it looks black here because we've got her probably about 6 feet away from the backdrop. And we wanted kind of a moodier look to this shot. And I think we achieved that. I wish I could pull the shadows even more. But that's pretty good. I wish I had maybe another hair light over here on the side. It is what it is. All right, so the next thing I will do is bring up the exposure. I've already done the highlights and the shadows. Now I can see everything in there. And you can bring up the exposure, and if you decide, like right there, I can see the hair a little better, then now I can bring down the highlights. Maybe they're a little bit hot now, right? Let's bring those down to about right there. And I'm liking that. Might be a tiny bit bright. Maybe bring it down, but it's fine. I like that right there. Normally what I do though, when I get done with the edit, I don't like post to social media right away. Yeah, I'll wait at least an hour. Most of the time I won't post right away, and I'll come back and look at it the next day and make minor exposure adjustments after I've checked it on my iPhone and iPad as well as computer to make sure that the exposure about evens out, like it looks good on all three, right? That's the best way to do it. So it looks good right there. I may change it later. So let's blacks. I think the blacks are probably pretty good where they were. Whites, I hardly ever touch the whites. Texture, I always bring that down to about minus 20 or 30. And she's got great skin, but it sort of has a skin softening effect without having to reduce the clarity of the shot, right? So I brought it down to about 30. Let me zoom in and you can see I'll turn it off. And it's just very subtle. And bring it down to there. Vibrance I'll bring up to about 17, 16, 17. Saturation I usually don't boost much. I could boost just the reds. You got to keep in mind that will impact the skin though too. So I don't, I don't often touch the colors. Some people do a lot of color grading. They'll enhance specific colors, and you can certainly do that. You can go a little bit further. I just don't. I don't think it needs it. Sharpening, usually bring that up to about 70. Hold down the control, or actually the alter option, and then drag your slider, and the parts in white will be the parts that are sharpened. And so you can see the actual sharpening mask, holding down the alter option key and dragging the slider. So that's pretty good. So while we're zoomed in, we'll come over here and we'll grab the healing brush tool. Let's Control plus, Zoom in a little bit more. She's got good skin. I don't have to do much here. Come over here and just get a few of these super tiny little bumps. I wouldn't even call them blemishes. And get this, and then we will... I push down the space bar and drag the canvas. That's how I do that. I kind of missed that one right there, and we'll bring it right here. Get that right there. That's it. I mean, there's really not much to do there. Yeah, freckles I usually leave alone. Get that one there. And that is, pretty much it. Go back out to 100%. Now she's got kind of a dark circle. I wouldn't call it a dark circle, but we could kind of do something there. We'll come over here and we'll create a mask, a brush. So I clicked on this here. Do it again. I click on that right there. Click on brush. And for the brush, you come down here to effect. And we'll do soften skin light and adjust your size of the brush. And just kind of bring this, and you can kind of smooth this out right down through here maybe. I don't do a lot of skin softening. I like, the skin doesn't look real when you start removing texture. All right, but I'll do a little bit. Like under the eyes like that. You could even kind of bring the highlights up just a hair. And I'll turn that off so you can... There's with it off, and there's with it on. So just real subtle. Click that again, and that turns off the mask. So I could do a little dodge and burn. So click on that again. Click on the plus, or just create a new mask. Plus, let's do a brush. Yeah. And you can use the preset. There should be a dodge preset down here. Dodge, yeah. It's real subtle lighten. So just come over here, and you can kind of dodge the highlights a little bit right here. Bring your brush down a little bit. 25% might have been a little high, but we'll leave it right there. All right. If you want to, and these highlights in the hair, you can come in and kind of get those a little bit. All right. Maybe this one here. That highlight kind of adds a little separation, right, between her and the background. It's nice. Now, the other thing I noticed, now that we're zoomed in, we'll go to the healing brush tool as we can get some of this hair. So I'm going to just grab this spot right here. Maybe that one right there. That right there. And we'll get this little one right here. I can clean this up a lot easier and better in Photoshop, but we'll stick with Lightroom today. I mean, you notice this more when you're zoomed in. You don't notice it so much when you're zoomed out. There's a little hair right here. And we don't need to go all crazy on that. So once you zoom out, you don't even really notice it. It's fine. So other places I could dodge or burn are right here and right there. I could dodge those and then burn around them. This is just a real simple portrait, though. I can't really think of, if I wanted to do some color grading, I guess I could, go to the saturation and bump up the red a little bit. You just got to make sure that you're not, let's see, I bring it down. Look at her lips. You see, you don't want to go too far, or now she's got like lipstick on that she didn't have. So we're just going to give it a little bump, like 20, just a little bump in the red saturation. If you wanted to use a mask, you could do that though. Let's go up here, create new mask, and we'll use a brush, and we'll add some saturation. You can't really do the individual colors. You can do some fine adjustment here with the overall colors, but you can't get as granular when you're inside the mask. But you could bring this saturation up a little bit, and add some saturation to her sweater. probably make the brush a little bigger. You know, come in here. And I don't know how much difference that actually made. We can turn the mask off by clicking the eye. Real subtle, made a tiny little bit of difference there. Now I could come down here back to this saturation, maybe bring up the blues a little bit. You see that? We can saturate those blues. You know, you don't want to make any drastic moves like that. You know, maybe just go up to like 15 or 20. And what else we got down here? You know, just because you got all this stuff doesn't mean you have to use it, right? And then if we finally want to crop for Instagram, you hit the little crop here, go to change your original to 4:5 by 8:10. That is the Instagram crop. Bring her down. You know, generally you don't want to crop at the joints. Just see what it looks like here. This doesn't bother me at all. I think this is good. She's a little bit to the right, but I think it's fine. You know, just the way she is in the shot, I think it looks good. The last thing I might want to do is add some pop to the eyes. So let's do another mask, get that right there, and create a new mask and choose brush. And let's zoom in quite a bit. Bring the size of that brush down because we just want to do the iris right in here, right? And for the effect, we'll change custom down to iris enhance. And we can drop in a little enhance. Usually you want to do the enhance the opposite side. This was the beauty dish up here. The opposite side of that is usually lighter. So you can do a little pop right there. And I'm going to bring up the highlights a little bit in this mask. See if you bring them up too much, that's too much. Don't give them, just don't be that person that does goes overboard on the eyes. Okay. I'm not going to say that I've never done it. You know, when I started out, I did a little bit. It was just like, wow, you know, look what I can do with the eyes, but don't do too much. Just keep it small moves, right? And then I see a little right here. Maybe we can just brighten that. You can come in here and brighten the softbox too, or the beauty dish softbox, whatever you're using right there. And go back out to 100%. That looks pretty good. We'll go to fit. Turn that off. One thing that just caught my eye, something right there. So let's go to the healing brush tool. You know, if they have lint and things like that, you want to get that, especially when they're wearing, you know, like black or navy, something dark colors. Whoops, didn't need to really do that. They oftentimes will have lint, and if you can bring a lint brush with you, have it in your bag at the shoot, that will help in those kind of situations. So she just had just one little snag right there on the sweater I wanted to get, and we'll go back to fit. And then once you're ready, you know, I'm just looking at it. I think I could probably bring the highlights back up a little bit, just make her pop just a little bit right there. And I'm happy with that. That's just a basic portrait edit. I would post this just like this. I'm liking this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe if you can. It's a small channel. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I appreciate it. All right. What do they say? Smash the not like button twice. Just leave that button alone. Just if you don't like it, just move along.